Live from San Antonio, Mike Taylor.
Yeah. See. Buenos tardes. That's Mexican for how you boys doing. Or maybe good afternoon. How are we all doing? It is Taylor. It is Friday. It is another edition of Mike Taylor Live on Love You Hard TV. How you boys doing? We're good for tomorrow, thank God. So yesterday, my phone's blowing up while we're on the air. I'm like, God dang, who's texted me during the show? But we had a bit of an issue, and so we've got our big raffle tomorrow that I'm going to be emceeing over at the Hangar. The Hangar? Why do I keep calling it fucking Hangar? The Ringer, my bad. Matt Rapp used to own all the... How many bars does Matt Rapp own, the guy we used to work with? Like 50? So there's the dude we used to work with at iHeart, who then went into the bar business, and I think he's owned at least a part of 50 bars in this town. But anyway, Matt used to own the Hangar that we used to go to all the time as a radio show. But tomorrow we're at formerly owned by him, the Ringer, which is now owned by a guy called Kevin and his partners, and the Ringer on Jones Maltzberger and Thousand Oaks is having a really cool raffle tomorrow, and I'm going to MC it. And we're going to get up there around 2 o'clock or so. And, well, there it is right there, benefiting the Guardian Community Fundraiser. And we're good to go for tomorrow because while I was on the air yesterday, my phone started going off because the dudes that had agreed to park a food truck out there in the parking lot, they were having, I think, an issue with their generator. That's not an easy job, running a food truck. You just don't show up and start cooking and sell food. There's so much that goes into it. It's a legitimate business. It just has wheels on it. And they were like, damn it, we may have to pull out of this gig tomorrow at the Ringer because of our generator issues. And so then I immediately posted a video yesterday when we got off the air doing this show, seeing if maybe some Thunderdormers out there had a food truck or knew of somebody that did, that at last minute notice maybe could show up and park their truck outside in the parking lot of the Ringer so we could have something to munch on during this raffle. And would you know it, as soon as the word got out that I had put some stuff out, I had a bunch of people like replying, okay, man, I think I've got a guy, I'll do it, I've got a good food truck. The Grunts food truck fixed their generator. So it was a false alarm. We no longer need a food truck. I just wanted to update Thunderdormers on that because I had a lot of guys replying. And I know a guy that knows a guy, and I know a guy, and we run a food truck, and there's so many damn good food trucks in this town. But Grunt's food truck, which is veteran-owned and operated, they were the ones that were going to be out there tomorrow at the Ringer, and they were having some issues with their generator. Well, somehow, miraculously, now it's fixed. And that's good. So never mind, false alarm. Grunt's food truck is going to be out there in the parking lot. By the way, speaking of the Ringer, we're going to be out there doing some Cowboys watching parties, and we're going to do some overreact talk shows. After Cowboys games, 4 different Cowboy games we're going to do out at the Ringer this year. We're going to do one each month of the season. We're going to do one on September the 7th. That's the Jets game, fucking Aaron Rodgers. So when the Cowboys play the Jets on the 17th, we're going to be out doing a watching party in September. At the Ringer. When the game is over, we're going to do a post-game show. We have hired Smokin' Bros. You ever heard of Smokin' Bros? Smokin' Bros is going to be serving up what they got in the parking lot for our first Cowboys watching party and post-game show, which will come down September the 17th after the Jets game. So shout out to all food truck operators. That was really cool. So our guys at Grunts, they're the ones that are going to be providing food and selling food in the parking lot tomorrow for this raffle we're having. And they had generator issues. And they fixed it last night, so I was like, thank God, sorry guys, sorry for the smoke. We're good to go, no problem. We'll see you on Saturday. And then I got all these guys that run food trucks reaching out, all these people trying to get a hold of food truck. Oh, my favorite food truck, maybe they're available. And then I get word last night from Kevin Ronaldo, the co-owner of Ringer, like, hey, by the way, we hired Smokin' Bros for the first Cowboy watching party in September. Just got to thinking about food truck operators. And you know as well as I do, LG, running a food truck can't be hard. It can't be easy. And I know a few guys that have done it. Food trucks got rolling probably, 15 years ago is when people started popping them up. And it's kind of like craft beer. so many people got into craft beer 15, 16, 17 years ago. And it's like, what the hell are you doing? You're going to make your own beer? What the hell are you doing? You're going to sell food out of a truck? I'll just go down to the Arby's or the Red Lobsters or the McFinnigan's. They got a guy in there who makes food. But look what the food truck business has done in this country. It's just exploded.
What Arby's are you going to?
I don't go to Arby's.
Yeah,
I was goofing. I haven't been to Arby's in years. My bad.
Right.
When's the last time you had Arby's? I know you've had it once.
Probably with you last time.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
I
Not
think
like
you were picking up something for like your daughters or something.
Oh my God. When the hell was that? 5 years ago?
No,
Because I don't go to Arby's.
It was when you were transitioning back here to Hawaii and you were
Really?
you were staying here for a little bit.
Oh my! So I took you to an Arby's in 2021.
Yeah.
What the Frank? Gross. That must be the last time I had it. But you know as well as I do that the food truck business is not an easy business to be in because now there's so many of them. It's kind of like if you want to get into the craft beer business, you better have a shit ton of money and a lot of resources because you can't just start doing craft beer now. It's too late. You should have been in at the beginning. Same thing with these food trucks. And I got to thinking about that, and it's also a community because yesterday when I was like, oh my God, our guys at Grunts, they got generator issues. I need to go get somebody else in town. All these different food truck guys were like, I even heard from a couple of guys that was like, man, I can't do it, but my buddy might be able to. Let me reach out to him. It's really communal. And I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I'll bet you it's not as competitive as the chain restaurant business or the car dealership business. There's a community that comes with running and owning and operating a food truck. A lot of people, you think you want to be in charge of a company. We're kind of in charge of our little thing now. And we have been in charge of it for a while, but now that this is my exclusive job, it's my full-time job. Got a couple of side hustles I've been working on, but I think when you get into the food truck business, it's not just, hey, we're going to go chop up some meat and sell meat out of a deal like we're selling ice cream. It's an operation. And so whether it's a generator or, taxes or haggling with people on where you park your truck or where you're going to be, marketing it, trying to, make yourself stand out amongst the sea of other food trucks. It's a damn hard business, and I can relate to the food truck man on a much different level because we're not selling food. We're selling words. We're selling fun. But it's difficult when you go out on your own regardless of what you're selling. So that's it. I just wanted to say that. Shout out to all food truck guys and girls in this town. We know some really great people that run food trucks, and it's fucking hard. All right, you put that logo up there. LG's made another shiny logo today with regards to our raffle we're going to have tomorrow. Tomorrow at the Ringer, and I've got a list here. And again, the Guardian Community Fundraiser is what it's for. The Guardian Community is an outstanding organization that's nationally a thing, but the local chapter here, run by Shannon, who we had on this week, she's going to help. She's going to be there tomorrow and help us. We're going to pull your raffle tickets and hopefully give you a bunch of cool stuff, and all the money is going to go to Guardian Community, which helps first responders, military personnel that are having issues acclimating to society for whatever reason, whether it's mental, physical, financial. We're there to help veterans tomorrow and first responders. So we have a cool, fancy list of stuff. Pop that other list up there when you get a chance. We have a bunch of different gift cards. There's the Hanger, which was in my head, the Ringer. Maybe that's why I got them confused, because I got them listed 1 and 2 on my list. We got a Visa gift card. We got an Old Main gift card, JT's Pub. And that's another thing. The local bar owner scene in this town is also, while it is competitive, it's also very communal. And look at all of those different bars on that list that have stepped up, for those that are watching this show, that have stepped up to help the Ringer help Guardian Community, because it's very communal, the local bar scene. Ricky's Tattoos. You want to get you a new tat? Maybe get one removed. $150 to Ricky's Tattoos. Got some golf giveaways to Olympia Hills and Lady Bird Johnson. Got $100 at Charity Bar, another bar. Got a kick-ass pair of Oakley sunglasses. We got 4 tickets plus jerseys to the Alamo City All-Stars basketball team. An autographed David Robinson jersey. We got Whataburger logo Wimbenyama t-shirts we're going to give away tomorrow. Wimby wood carving we're going to give away tomorrow. And we're going to give away the San Antonio Missions Uvalde night jersey that I was wearing a couple of days ago on this show. Now, to get the Spurs stuff and the Uvalde jersey, You got to be a member of Mike Taylor Live. How about that? How do you do that? Well, you go to youtube.com, pull us up, and go to support, right?
Join.
Why can't I remember that word? God almighty, my ADHD won't let me. Click join, and it'll give you a different list of choices. Become a member for $6 a month of this show, and that makes you eligible to win any of the Spurs-related stuff we're going to do or the Uvalde jersey. Those are just really cool things. And the raffle is only $10 a ticket. It's $25 for 3 of them. And no disrespect to all the other gifts we're giving away, but that wood carving, man, that's a straight from the heart thing that our guy Jones cut for us, the official woodcutter with Thunderdome. That's a labor of love, that thing, and I just don't want to give that away. So it's only $6 a month to be a member of this show. All we're asking is become a member and then show up tomorrow to the raffle at the Ringer, and you're eligible to win the Wemby wood carving or the other stuff that the shirts that have Wemby, the Wemby logo on there, or the Mission Uvalde jersey. Okay, so that's it. Let's get into what we're doing. All right. I got a late ass whip today. My God. I actually mentioned this yesterday on the air, but I was having fun with it because I thought it was funny, and it was hilarious when Trayvon Diggs was shit-talking Dak Prescott during a practice up in Oxnard, and Dak was shit-talking back to him and then didn't, throw the ball at him, but, tossed it at him get out of here, fool. The shit-talk going on between Dak and Trayvon Diggs, I thought it was great, thought it was funny, and we made fun of it yesterday, and we moved on, and I didn't think about it at all. But then I sit down last night and pull up I make the mistake of pulling up the fucking social medias and the overreaction to the news cycle. And what do I get? Dak Prescott, Trayvon Diggs at odds. Cowboys controversy at training camp. Get the fuck out of here with that, man.
Get the fuck out of here, man.
What an ass whip. And it's not just idiots on Twitter that don't like the Cowboys that just want them to have bad juju. We talking about idiots that get paid a lot of money to be a talking head on
What are we talking about?
show kind of like this one or our nationally televised show. USA Today has a headline in the sports section. Dak Diggs clear air. Clear air. If anything, Dak probably farted on him as a bit last night in the dorm rooms at Oxnard of the hotel where they're staying. You know why he clearing no fucking air? Dak Diggs clear air. They did not clear any air. There was no air to be cleared. Eradicate that bullshit out your mouth. And I tweeted something similar this morning. If you think that all that happened was Dak was running to the cone, trying to get into the end zone. Trayvon Diggs went running over with a couple of other guys, and they stopped Dak on a goal line drill. And there was some Jack John going on back and forth. And Diggs yelled at Dak, "Get your bitch ass, shut your bitch ass up," is what Trayvon Diggs yelled at Dak, almighty Dak. "Shut your bitch ass up." And then Dak's like, "Fuck you," and then slung the ball at him. It was great. It was awesome. That's what happened. Now, you would think that, Diggs kicked Dak in the balls or Dak called Diggs' wife a bitch. I mean, it's ridiculous. Dak Diggs clear air. There was no air to be cleared. That is a bullshit headline from the failing USA Today. Totally failing. And somebody asked, and the same damn author that wrote this column, he actually asked Trayvon Diggs about it after practice, and Diggs' reply was, "Stay out of our fucking business." I tweeted something similar this morning. Anybody that's overreacting to that has never played ball. Or if you did play ball, you damn sure didn't go very far. That's what happens when you're out there practicing and you're going up against your own teammates. Teammates get on each other's shit all the time. And most of the time, that's actually good for business. Anybody reading into that and making it a big controversial thing, or Dak doesn't have respect for the team, is a fucking idiot that never played any kind of ball or any kind of competitive anything. And if you did, you probably sucked and you didn't last long and you joined the band. Or you're getting paid by somebody to make up bullshit, like former running back LaShawn McCoy. You got this video? LaShawn McCoy this morning is on a show called Speak on FS1 and just making up bullshit because somebody decided to pay you So because you're getting paid to make up bullshit, you show your ass on your TV show. This is LaShawn McCoy totally lying his ass off about what he thought this Dak Diggs brush-up meant. On Taylor.
Is this something or is it nothing?
I think it's something there. I mean, I don't know. I played some football, so I'll just say this. Let me set the stage. I played with Michael Vick, right? I played with Tom Brady, played with Josh Allen, played with Patrick Mahomes. Nobody on the team, coaches, trainers, will even fix their lips to say something like that to that quarterback, right? A franchise quarterback, two things it tells me. One is they don't respect him. And two is they tired of everybody making him the face, the guy, and when we get in a tight game, he's the one that blows the game for us. Because after a while, it builds up. You know, as a ball player, man, you going through it. Okay, next game. Okay, next play. I'm tired, bro. You keep doing the same thing. And I feel like they might not respect him the same way because I can't even think about a player telling them quarterbacks out his name, call you out your name like that. And that name right there, when you say that to a player, to a person, it's consequences from that they don't care about. So, I don't know, man. When you talk about being a leader, we all talk about how Dak is a leader. When we talk about his qualities, his attributes, it's not like the arm strength. It's more like he's a leader, you know, that type of thing. You talk to your leader like that? I don't know.
I don't watch this show. You know how I saw this clip? Trayvon Diggs himself replied to it and wrote, "Sound dumb as fuck saying anything." Diggs has called McCoy's punk ass out today. The same LaShawn McCoy who was one of the first running backs to realize, there's no value for us anymore. LaShawn McCoy thought his shit didn't stink and decided to sit out an entire NFL season and ruined his career in the process because you just cannot take a year off playing the game, especially a position in which you're getting crushed up like a running back does every week. And now look at him out there getting paid to tap dance and make up bullshit. That's what makes me the most mad. He does not believe a word of what he just said. He had a terrible career before he decided to shit on his own career and take the year off. He knows better. That's what hacks me up. It's one thing to be stupid and have an ignorant opinion, but when you know the truth and you still lie your ass off because you're on TV and you want to show it, that makes you a bad guy. Guys talk shit to each other all the time. You don't think Charles Haley ever shit talked Troy Aikman in a practice? Get the fuck out of here, man. This is my night.
Get the fuck out of here, man. It's my night.
That clip gives me murder face. I just want to wring his neck because he knows better. And Dak always blows the games. You know they don't have any respect for Dak because he always blows games. He's won 24 fucking games in the last 2 seasons. We had guys that I played. Here it is. It's another edition of Mike Taylor compares his high school baseball career to the professional NFL. So when I was in high school,
Mike Taylor, Jr., second base.
we talked shit to each other too, but we loved each other. They were our brothers. We wanted to win. We were out there to win, but like during practice, you don't think we talk shit all the time. I played with a guy called John Bologna. John Bologna. Wait, what was his name? John Bologna. Not John Bologna. John Bologna. John Bologna was a damn good pitcher. I don't know what happened to John. He was a good dude, and that name's in my head. And when he would struggle, we would call him John Bologna. It was stupid, high school stupidity. But his name's, Bologna. Sound like Bologna. And so when he would struggle in practice, getting your tits ripped, baloney. He was baloney. We loved him. He was our brother, but we'd give him shit. It was part of the competitive nature of being on a ball club. There was a kid that I played baseball with. I'll just say that his first name was Josh. I don't want to give away his last name. But one time in practice, he was having a real hard time, and our coach, the great Tommy Elliott, one of the greatest high school baseball coaches in the history of Fort Worth ISD.
Mike Taylor, Jr., second base.
Called him a donkey. He told him, the coach wished, they used to talk shit about me too, the size of my head. Taylor's not going to be able to wear a hat this year because his head's too big. They don't make a hat that fits him, all this kind of shit. So he was Josh the donkey the rest of the season because the coach called him a donkey one time because he was lazy. There was another kid that I've told this story before. Remember, have you heard the story that I've told you about the kid that I played baseball with who accidentally shit his pants in the dugout and had to run and it happened during a game?
Was she a great big fat person?
In the rest of the season, his nickname was Doo-Doo. His last name, coincidentally, was Durham. And so he was Doo-Doo Durham. Look, you talk shit about the guys you play with. It's competitive, especially when you're practicing. And we would scrimmage against each other. You know, you'd go up there and you'd face your own guy and practice live pitching, and he's trying to strike your ass out, and you're trying to hit a dinger, and there's going to be some shit talking going on. The fact that Trayvon Diggs shit talks Dak Prescott makes him more respected in that room. And you know who respects him just as much as anybody? Dak Prescott himself. So a late punch to LaShawn McCoy tap dancing on TV today for a paycheck and making up bullshit. R&R Auto Glass is 100. They don't make up nothing. They are a great company, and they're ready to fix your glass in your vehicle. They are easy to find right there at 281 in Tacoma. So if you're going, let's say, southbound on 281, you exit Tacoma, you take a right. They're about a quarter mile down on the left-hand side, and they're going to take care of you. They take all insurances. They're owned by San Antonians. They're super fast. They get you in and out quick. And don't forget to ask them about the Taylor Especial. R&R Auto Glass, the only place to ever get glass fixed in a car. R&R. Okay, what else today? It's done, man. It is done. Not this show, but it's Frost Bank's partnership with the Spurs. Had a big press conference yesterday. And there was Peter J. Frost. Peter J. Frost. Maybe that's his new nickname. He's in bed with Frost. Peter J. Holt. The governor, not the owner, not supposed to say owner, it insinuates something ugly. The governor of the Spurs, Peter J. Holt. It wasn't quite the reaction we got when they won the lottery. Let's go! Let's go! Woo! It wasn't quite that, but he was every bit as happy. That was a damn good day yesterday. Frost Bank, the official Bank of Texas, San Antonio-based, owned and operated, is now the official title sponsor of the arena. AT&T Center is no mas. They're going to start changing the sign. They're going to have to get the city to change the street signs there on the exits and all that kind of thing. It is no longer AT&T Center. Not that we need any more construction in this effing city, but we're going to have to change the signs before the season starts for sure. It is now the Frost Bank Center. And thought about this last night and actually wrote a column in Sports Illustrated about this. You bet your ass you know I'm a writer for Sports Illustrated. Just wanted to say that real quick.
Yeah, you've told us.
Okay, have I told you? I'll tell you again. All right, so just got to thinking about that. So it's official. Frost Bank is now going to slap their name on the barn. Thus ending a sad chapter, a long chapter. You know, a lot of teams go 30, 40, 50 years in between greatness. The Spurs aren't going to have to do that, thank God. Spurs. And this all goes back to Kawhi Leonard, and he's our ex-husband. And I've long gotten over him. But I'm bringing him up here to reference this point. Kawhi Leonard decides that he needed to suckle on the titties of his mama in L.A.
You can milk anything with nipples.
And could not stand the heat in Texas. Had nothing to do with us. He was going to go back to Los Angeles. It didn't matter if he was a New York Knick. This had nothing to do with big market and marketing. This was all about him being a weird guy. And he needed to be home. And that's fine. That part I get. How he handled it all, I'll never get. And it made him chicken shit. You know, you can have, mental issues or depression or anxiety, but they don't exclude you from doing chicken shit. Kawhi Leonard began a long, boring tenure of San Antonio Spurs dumb. It started with Kawhi. He decides that he wanted to get out of here. He got hurt. Threw their medical people under the bus. They've never had any issues with anybody, the medical issues. The Spurs medical team is not just one of the best medical teams and training staffs in the NBA. It's one of the best medical teams and training staffs in pro sports in the Western Hemisphere. It's outstanding. I've got buddies that have had surgeries with some of the Spurs team surgeons. Tony Parker had one of the quickest recoveries from the exact same injury that Kawhi Leonard had as anyone that's ever played in the NBA. And Tony Parker was a hell of a lot more strenuous with all that running around point guarding than Kawhi. Well, anyway, so it started with Kawhi deciding he didn't want to be here, used his injury as an excuse to get out of here, literally went AWOL, literally hid from Greg Popovich. And that started what wound up being 5 years of a long, mundane, hard time in Spurs history. Because that started, because as soon as Kawhi was when the Spurs realized, okay, we're just not going to be able to talk him back. Let's trade him. That began, and most of us around here, I was scared to death that it was going to take 15 years to get good again. But because they're who they are, I had faith that they'd be able to, if there's anybody in the league that can handle their star player deciding to shit on you and get back as soon as humanly possible and as quickly as possible, it's the Spurs brass. And so they trade Kawhi Leonard and thus began a 2 or 3 year stretch of being in the worst place you can be in the NBA, and that is in the middle of the pack. The trench that is the middle class in the NBA is no man's land. And so it was 2 or 3 years of DeMar DeRozan and Rudy Gay and the final days of sissy-ass former T-Sip and LaMarcus Aldridge. And then finally, after they finally decide, okay, we're not going to win any playoff series with these idiots. They trade everybody, bottom out.
Bitches leave.
Greg Popovich decided this year that we're not going to coach any defense because we need to lose because of that kid from France. I'm giving you, this is the quick version. This is 5 years of Kawhi and then trying to be in the middle class, which is nowhere to be in the NBA. Finally realizing this isn't ever going to work. We got to get out of this. Trade everybody, tank, bottom out, and then pray to God that the ping pong ball goes the way we need it to, and it did. And as much credit as I give the Spurs for putting themselves in the position to get Victor Wembanyama, they still had to have the fate of the basketball gods on their side, and alas, it happens. They win the freaking lottery. They get the top pick. Of course they did. What was that guy? Remember that thing around to that Rockets podcast? The fucking Spurs, man. Pissed off those Rockets fans something awful. Wemby's like, yes, when he realized he wasn't going to go to Houston. And then went apeshit when he found out he was going to be a Spur. It was great. And so from Kawhi to DeMar DeRozan to the bottom out and then winning the lottery and then drafting Wemby. And then it's enough to make an old man who's 74 years old want to stay. And Greg Popovich winds up signing a 5-year extension. And then yesterday, Frostbank slaps its name. And if you think this isn't just as important to SSE as anything, it is. They were about to have to go into the season with no title sponsor. You just can't have that. That's hundreds and hundreds of millions of bucks. Frost has basically ended a 5-year awful stretch of Spurs history that has now officially restarted with Frost signing up. This is probably the best offseason in the Spurs history. And I know they drafted Timmy. That was a pretty good offseason. But when you throw in everything that was involved here, because the Spurs had a good roster, David just got hurt and missed a bunch of games, and the Spurs just got lucky. But where the Spurs were at the end of the season to what has now happened, and I forgot to mention the opening of the Rock up at La Cantera, this state-of-the-art, unbelievably technologically advanced training facility. This has turned into the best offseason, damn sure the best offseason since I've been here, and I think it's got a case to become the best offseason in the history of the franchise. They're going to get good again. I'm not saying they're going to go to the playoffs next year. I'm just saying I think this is the symbolic ending to these hard years. It was all kind of just plateau, and then bottoms out and the heart stops. But now all of a sudden, shoom, this huge burst of life has now been just enthralled into them. And if you think, I don't know if Frost was going to put their name on the building or not without Wembanyama, but it damn sure didn't hurt. So that was cool. And I found all that symbolicness yesterday watching that Frost press conference. So hype for the Spurs season. Can't wait to get into these games and get this kid developed, Victor Wembanyama. All right, show also brought to you in part by Hardwick Mortgage. The website is hardwickmortgage.com. If you need a mortgage man, my guy is Brad, the official mortgage man of Thunderdome is Brad Hardwick. If you've thought about maybe upgrading to a bigger house, or maybe you've thought about getting a smaller house, whatever, you want to sell the one you've got for whatever reasons, you want to get into a new place and see how much money your place is worth, Call our guys at Hardwick Mortgage and get yourself pre-qualified for a loan. Home values have gone way up over the years, and you need some equity. If you've got equity, you can cash out now, put money in your pocket, buy a new house, pay off debt, whatever you want to. It's your money. And that process starts with our guys at Hardwick Mortgage. If you're looking to buy a new home, they can also shop across multiple lenders all over the area and get you the best deal. It is Hardwick Mortgage. The information is presented for informational purposes. It's not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Information and or dates are subject to change without notice. All loans are subject to credit approval. Other restrictions may apply, and as a result of refinancing, your total finance charges may be higher over the life of the loan. Visit hardwickmortgage.com for more information. It is Hardwick Financial Services, NMLS ID 1972012, Hardwick Mortgage. All right, let me take a sip here. You know, when I was doing radio, we had 30 fucking minutes of commercial time so I can take a leak, get a quick dump in if I had to. Can't do that anymore, so I need the fart drop to be the interstitial as I take a sip of my Depeche Mode coffee cup here. This is not mine. I'm not embarrassed to drink out of a Depeche Mode coffee cup, but when I saw that here at KLG Studios, I got a kick out of it. I didn't know they made Depeche Mode coffee cups. About that. I didn't know they still make any new tunes. They probably do. I'm just not aware. Depeche Mode was one of those bands. Now, I'll bet you had these kind of bands at your alternative high school that you went to. Depeche Mode was one of the bands for us in the late 80s, early 90s that were in school. If you wanted the chicks to like you, you pretended to like Depeche Mode. Now, I don't hate Depeche Mode, but it's not like I've got their entire catalog in my phone. I didn't go buy their CDs. I jammed out to it when it would come on the radio in the car. But ask anybody that my age, if you wanted chicks in high school to like you 30 years ago, you pretended to dig Depeche Mode. The other band that I think a couple of the other bands that you wanted to act like you were like a super fan of to make chicks think that you were deep, The Cure with Robert Smith. I don't hate The Cure, but I don't love them nearly as much as I used to let on. So that just reminded me when I took that drink. All right, what else today? I was going to get to this a couple of days ago, and we got sidetracked by shit, but you know how we do. The great Dan Patrick was in the news this week. Dan Patrick, who's done a radio show across this nation for a long time, who was one of my first favorite sportscasters back in the days when I was pretending to rock out to The Cure and the Depeche Mode. The Depeche Mode? No, just Depeche Mode. In Excess was another band back in the 80s that we would pretend to like because chicks liked them. But anyway, I digress. Dan Patrick was one of my first favorite sportscasters. And I actually got to spend 2 days with Dan Patrick one time, which is still one of the highlights of my career. And I bring this up because Dan announced his last extension. He swears this is it. He's going to do 4 more years for iHeart/Premier Networks is who owns the rights to that show, along with him, because he's one of these early guys that went on his own. And I saw that this week, and, you know, that's part of the motive. He's a motivating story. Not that I'm Dan Patrick, but on a lower level, he's motivating because Dan was one of the first guys to think, you know what, I'm going to take ownership of my own stuff. I'm going to, because he was working for ESPN. He could have stayed at ESPN until he was 90, but he decided to go off on his own. He wanted to get out from underneath Mickey's umbrella because when you work for Mickey, you have to do it a certain way. Dan wanted to be himself, and he was never fully himself on his own show because Mickey's ridiculous strident rules and regulations. So Dan announced this week that he signed his last extension. I think it goes through 2027 is what I read. And I believe he'll be 71 years old at the end of that deal. That's pretty good. That's good because that's good for guys like me that don't have many other skills, and I need to make this career work, or I'm going to go wind up driving a truck. There was a weekend that I spent when I was working for Mickey. I had just gotten the job at ESPN Radio Dallas. I was the weekend kid. I was the nighttime kid. I was the peon. I was the kid that would take any job and go the extra mile without having to be told or asked. I would just, Mike, we need you to do A and B. Cool. I would go do A, B, and C and get ready to do D if I felt like I should. And so that's why they entrusted me to be Dan Patrick's liaison 2 days. They also nobody wanted to cover golf, but I stepped up to do it. So the name, and a lot of you old school Thunderdomers remember this. You young dudes that watch us these days, you probably won't remember the name Annika Sorenstam. For about 10 years, Annika Sorenstam was the tiger of the LPGA. She was so good. It was so ridiculous. She was just kicking everybody's ass on the LPGA tour that you started to wonder, how could Annika Sorenstam hang on the PGA tour, you know? And I'm not here to debate that, you know, and she only played in 1 or 2 or 3 tournaments total, but the Fort Worth Colonial being, you know, these golf tournaments and their need to market, the Colonial decided, you know what, we're an invitational. We can invite anybody we want to play in this tournament. The Colonial up in Cowtown, they invited Annika Sorenstam to play, which made massive history. It was hugely controversial for a lot of old school guys on the PGA Tour that were all pissed off. Guys like BJ Singh, I don't want them playing on the tour. They have their own tour. That's pretty good VJ, although I'm not sure many of y'all know what VJ sounded like. A bunch of old golfers were pissed off that Annika Sorenstam was going to get to play with them for one weekend because her spot's taken away from some other man that won't get to play in the tournament and make money or whatever. It's their damn tournament. They let her play in it. So anyway, it was such a huge deal. And, yeah, there were some golfers that didn't want her to play, but the vast majority was pretty stoked about it. So stoked that ESPN decided to send Dan Patrick and Sean Salisbury, that's who his co-host was in those days, to Fort Worth to cover Thursday and Friday's opening 2 rounds and cover Annika Sorenstam. And so at Mickey Dallas, you know, this is back when I worked for a radio station that actually had a budget and decided to spend some of its money on that said budget to market its station. And they set up this badass deer stand right over the 18th green of the Colonial and put Dan and Sean up there in the deer stand with his producer, the longtime Paul Pabst. And guess who they asked to help them kind of get around Fort Worth and give them some ideas on how to, because I knew Colonial. I grew up in Fort Worth. I've been to Colonial 50 times. And Taylor, you want to go cover Colonial? Sure. Because I also lived down the street from the damn course. And so I got pegged to go babysit Dan Patrick and Sean Salisbury. And it was to cover Annika Sorenstam. I got to sit in their booth with him overlooking the 18th green. It was the first surreal moment of my career. And it's, to this minute, one of the highlights of my career. And hell, it may be number 1. Just because I got to hang out with Dan F. and Patrick. I didn't give a shit about, I gave a shit about Annika Sorenstam, but I got to hang out with Dan Patrick. And my job was to help Dan. And I took that shit serious. And I'll never forget, it took me an hour just to kind of process that I'm sitting with Dan, and I'm just like, he's doing his national show on ESPN, and I'm sitting there just trying to figure out how I can do my thing, and I'm just kind of at his leisure. And he goes to commercial break, and Dan's like, Mike, do you think you might be able to help us go get Annika to come up here? Oh, God. I was just hoping he'd ask me to go get him a sandwich. Now you're asking me to do like because the security around her that day was on that Thursday. Her first round was through the roof, and we had gotten a note in the media that Annika was off limits. That she was going to do a press conference after her round, but it was in a giant press conference room. She was going to do no individual stuff with any of the local papers. Although we had all this national media that would come into town. Sports Illustrated, ESPN, the magazine, hell, you know, every time. It was a massive news story in those days. This was in the early 2000s. And I never thought of all the things that Dan Patrick would ask me to do, it would be, hey, go get Annika Sorenstam and bring her up here. I'm like, oh, shit. I didn't want to tell Dan, no, hey, man, they're not letting her do one-on-ones with anybody. I'm like, sure, I'll do it. You talk about putting my ass on the line. So I went to that post-round press conference that she did. So she finishes her round. She did okay that first day. She didn't make the cut, but that first day she was fine. She had some ups and downs in that first round. But anyway, so they bring her into the major press conference room, and she's doing her media powwow with there's 150 people in there, and I got there early and nudged my way to the front. So she gets done talking, and the directors of the tour, they're like, okay, thank you guys, that's it. And they get Annika stands up and they're walking out. I've got Dan Patrick has asked me to go get Annika. And I decided, fuck it. I'm going to risk getting in trouble here. So I start walking over to where, like, the stage, it was a stage, and then it had stairs that went down, and then behind this curtain and off into the private area for players. And Annika, obviously being a female, she had her own room. And I decided, fuck it. Dan's asked me to go get her, to hell with it. So I start beelining over right to her. And I'm just like speaking as fast as I can. Annika, it's Mike Taylor with ESPN Radio. Dan Patrick wants you to come on his show. And as I'm halfway making that statement, I can feel the fingertips of a Fort Worth police officer grabbing my ass by the back of the collar. I'm getting ready to go to jail. And I'm just trying to get the words out as soon as I can. My name is Mike. I'm with ESPN Radio. I'm here with Dan Patrick. Dan, why don't you come on and do a show with him? And as soon as she stops and turns around because she heard the name Dan Patrick. Man, Annika stops. She turns around and she goes, wait, Dan's here? I go, yes, ma'am. And she's like, great, where? And so that cop, the PGA Tour executive, me and Annika, and the executive's like, the executive is giving me this, you fucking asshole look. But Annika's like, no, I want to talk to Dan. So, bitches, I got her. So I'm like, she's like, where is he at? I'm like, he's over here. So they went and got us a cart, and they put us on a cart, and I showed them where to go because we were over the 18th green, because the officials, they knew where Dan was. They drive us over there. And I don't know if this is interesting to Thunderdome at all, but this is one of the highlights of my career, and because Dan's in the news this week. So there it is. I escort Annika up into the deer stand, and there's Dan, and she sits there and does 15 minutes with him, and it was great. And so she leaves the booth, and she goes back down and off into oblivion. And Paul Pabst, who's still Dan's producer to this day, is like, Mike, that was fantastic. Nice work, dude. I'm like, yeah, man, I almost went to jail. And they're like, it's all good. Thanks, man. And Dan took me to dinner that night to show his appreciation. He bought me a sea bass and a steak from one of the fanciest ass restaurants in town at the hotel where he was staying. So anyhow, that's a long story, but that's my Dan Patrick story. And it was that was early in my career. You know, and at that point I was thinking, maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe I'm not going to be able to get to the level that I want to get to. Maybe I just need to do something else. I'm just going to go be a teacher. That's okay. That's fine. It was that where Dan Patrick showed faith in me, and I made it work, and just have him and Paul go out of their way to praise me. And even Sean Salisbury is like, man, we need guys like you working in Bristol. I'm like, wow, well, okay, dude. That motivated me as a young, struggling, poor as shit little wannabe media dude that maybe I can stay in this at least for a little while. And that's it. And I've always respected Dan, not just because he was good to me that day, but he's just got scoreboard. He's another guy who left, he left something seemingly, huge while he was on top. He was at the top of his game when he decided to go off on his own, because he had done the show with Rob Dibble and Sean Salisbury, and he did it his way, man. And he's Dan F. and Patrick, and I don't even act like I'm in the same city as him in this career, but I love that guy. And so when I found out he's going to stay another 4 years or so, I don't even listen to his show as much anymore. It's just, you change, tastes change. And, I don't get a chance to listen to that show as much, but I'll always love Dan Patrick and always have a shit ton of respect for him. He was one of the guys that, motivated me, when I was a young wannabe broadcaster. All right. So that's why I've always decided that if I have a chance to ever help anybody or give back or, help charities or whatever I can do to help and use this goofball platform I've got, I'm going to do it, such as raise money for places like the San Antonio City Soccer Club. The San Antonio City Soccer Club, they got over 1,500 kids that play in this league. And over at that club, they built a bunch of new pitches, new fields this year up on the far north side, 1604 in Blanco, right off of Speck Road. And LG and I went over there the other day to check it out, and they're in the process of all the grass is just about laid. They're working on, they're going to put some bleachers up in certain areas. They're working on getting restrooms up and running and all the plumbing and all that. But by the fall, this place is going to be humming. And what we need are sponsors to help with some of the cost to offset the millions of dollars that it cost to build this beautiful facility for San Antonio kids. We want to give back to the kids by helping them make it easier to play in this league, this club, SA City Soccer Club. If you're interested in joining the two Thunderdomers who have decided to sponsor fields this year, Sunburst Gymnastics, they're sponsoring one of the fields, and they're naming it Thunderdome Field. The Methodist Health System in San Antonio, they've stepped up. They're going to sponsor the field this year. Well, we need 6 more, though. I'd like to get 6 by the fall. Any interest in getting a whole bunch of love all over the city, not just by me, but by the club itself, obviously, by sponsoring one of the fields, jump into my DMs and give you boys a shout-out. It is the official soccer club of Thunderdome, the San Antonio City Soccer Club. So I was reading about Dan Patrick. I didn't mean to make the whole show about Dan. I just love the guy. There's a guy called Derek Futterman who writes columns for Barrett Sports Media, who wrote a long thing this week on Dan's career. I'm not going to read it to you. I'm going to give you a paragraph, but it sums up Dan, and it's funny because Dan Patrick, after all those years ago, motivated a young Taylor to stay in this thing, and fast forward to now. And Dan, in his late 60s, continues to motivate 48-year-old Taylor. This guy wrote this about Dan. This guy, Futterman, wrote, "It is rare for sports media personalities to get to retire on their own accord. Oftentimes, they are pushed out by younger, more affordable talent and always subject to adaptations in the marketplace. Evidence enough is the deluge of layoffs occurring across media this year alone, including at Warner Brothers, Discovery, The Athletic, and ESPN. Massive layoffs. Dan Patrick, of course, worked at the mothership for 14 years. He was the face of the sports institution at arguably the height of its popularity. He left ESPN in 2007 and began to operate his show independently, a move that was somewhat unprecedented at the time. Patrick utilized shrewd foresight and incessant determination in moving on while always remaining eager for a new challenge. Maintaining those characteristics and continuing to be able to give consumers his best was of paramount importance when pondering over the denouement of his storied career. He took massive risks when he didn't have to. I could have stayed at iHeartRadio for 10 more years, or at least until they went out of business. But I decided to do this, man. And here, we're on month 3 now. We're just starting out month 3. I lean on Dan Patrick again. He doesn't know it, but I lean on the guy. He's 67 years old, and he's still going, and that's motivating. Because I've been joking with people lately where it's like, me and Lawrence want to build something here. We'd like to build a podcast network if we can. We'd like to, pay it forward. If we get to a point where we can bring in other people to do their own shows with us, that'd be awesome. Because at some point, I'm going to be an old-ass man. I'm 48. At some point, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to be 60, and no one's going to give a shit what I think. Although Dan's still doing it at 67, but I know Dan Patrick. That being said, this was a risk to see what else I'm risking failure to do something even better. And the decisions we make, y'all might not always like them. You may not like how the show is now, but we're still in the early days of redoing this thing. And LG and I are going to bust our ass the best we can to make it the best it possibly can. The old song, "Don't Let the Old Man In." Jerry Jones referenced that this week. I don't want to let the old man in. I don't want the old man let in yet. Don't want that. And look what ESPN Radio's turned into in the years since Dan left. Mickey Radio has more leaks than the Iraqi Navy. And hell, I read a report today that ESPN's thinking about trying to get Colin Cowherd to go back over there because they don't know their fucking head from a hole in the ground. Elite Collision absolutely knows how to fix holes and dents and smashed windshields and paint jobs that need to be done. If you've been into a car wreck, see, we got R&R Auto Glass, they do the glass. But for the rest of your car, it's Elite Collision. If you have been in a wreck, fender bender, a collision, hail damage even, and you need body work done, and that subsequently needs a paint job, Elite Collision is the official collision center of Thunderdome. It's Elite Collision of Bernie, north on I-10, just north of the rim, about 10 minutes. It is exit 542 in Bernie, the official Collision Repair Center of Thunderdome Elite Collision. All right, what else today before we get out of here? Johnny Manziel is going to open up a bar. You want to go to College Station with me and drink at Johnny Manziel's bar? Dude, say yes because we'll have fun.
Perhaps.
Well, we'll make it work. That's become one of the things I want to do now in this state. Me and Nina have a lot of things we want to do around the country, some things out of the country, but I want to go to College Station and have a beer, and they're going to call it, I think they're going to call it Johnny Manziel's Money Bar. Like, it's like, you know, they're probably going to have a big-ass picture of him in there flashing the money. They're going to open it up right there at Northgate, right there on campus. You know, they're getting ready to have the Netflix documentary pretty soon on Johnny Manziel's life. You say what you want to about Johnny Manziel. That son of a bitch moves the needle, and he's entertaining as shit. Johnny Manziel, and I mean this warmly. Johnny Manziel is the John Daly of football. He's this scamp who won't fully ever grow up like Huckleberry Finn. And all these years later, after his career got derailed because of his size and his quaffing, makes sense he's opening up a bar. All these years later, you know what Johnny Manziel also is? The most interesting thing about Texas A&M football. Even now, they're having hard times at A&M. They're coming off a losing season. They're realizing that maybe they fucked up by hiring Jimbo Fisher. You know, their recruiting right now is being criticized on the recruiting trails. You don't want to send your son to a school where all the teachers are getting fired for saying certain things about the Republican Party. You know, there's this notion at A&M with recent news events. I don't know how much y'all keep up with Texas A&M University news. There's this notion that you have to be a Republican to be a teacher there, which is not true. But there's a perception now, or at least you need to keep your criticisms of the Republican Party out your mouth and keep them to yourself if you're going to teach at A&M. They just cut a $1 million settlement with a professor they were going to have come in and run their journalism department. Oh, it turns out she worked for the New York Slimes, and the Board of Regents and backers decided, no, she can't be here no more, and they fucked up the hiring. And the lady that hired her has quit. I don't give a shit what your politics are, but A&M's gotten too a little ridiculous. Well, at least that Board of Regents, and it's a pain. It's a thorn in their ass right now. So all that being said, Johnny Manziel remains the most important thing that the Aggies have produced in a long-ass time. The Nike Child Sweatshops of Thibodaux, Louisiana might not ever make A&M championship jerseys if they don't get their shit together at A&M. All right, what else today? Since I mentioned college football, Arizona is said to be rounding third base on joining Colorado in the Big 12. The Big Ten's going after Oregon and Washington. The Pac-12 is going to be down to 6 schools if Arizona comes here. And UW at Washington and the Ducks of Oregon. Johnny Manziel was going to go to Oregon but changed his mind at the last minute. I wonder how that went down. The Pac-12 also announced that they're going to stream all their games on Apple. Big deal. Good luck with that. The Pac-12, the failing Pac-12. The Pac-12 is failing because of a lack of insight and arrogance, thinking that we're the Pac-12, we're too big to fail. Also, I think there's cultural issues just based on the geography of the Pac-12. People on the West Coast just don't love college football the way we love it in the rest of the country. Well, in the South, mostly. And in the Big Ten, and in the middle part of the country. The flyover states of Ohio and Indiana, they love college football. In the South, we love college football. Now, obviously, people love USC football, but it's niche. There are people that love Washington football, but it's niche. One of my good buddies lives in the hellscape. He's a UW man, and he's pained to see the Pac-12 breaking apart. But I just don't know that there's the mass audience for college football on the West Coast. Well, I know there's not. There's not the mass audience for college football that we have here in the South. The schools have big fan bases, USC, UCLA, Washington, but the sport itself does not. Like I make fun of all the T-shirt Longhorn fans in San Antonio. I would venture to say that 80%, I'm throwing this number out there, but it's an educated guess, 80% of UT football fans in San Antonio, Texas, have never stepped foot on the campus unless to go to a game. They never attended a class. There is a brand at UT. There are people that love UT football just because it's up the street and they like Texas and they're from Texas. None nobody they even know even went to the school. They don't have that on the West Coast. If you love USC, you went there. If you love Washington, you went there, or at least somebody you do went there, or you grew up right down the street from the campus. You don't have T-shirt fans on the West Coast the way we have in the South. Alabama, 99% of them mouth-breathing sumbitches in Alabama that roll tide, they never stepped foot on the campus. Couldn't tell you how to get to the administration building if you gave them a gun and some money. They have no idea, and they don't have that on the West Coast. And in these modern times, in these changing college football climates, Pac-12's dead. I'd love to have Arizona come to the Big 12. Big 12's kicking ass trying to save itself after losing Texas and Oklahoma to Big Southern John Plantation country. Very unfortunate that conference is now, that scissor kick to the back of that conference's head. It's about arrogance. It's about lack of insight, but mostly it's about y'all just don't have the fan bases to keep up anymore, and they're going to head west. Or I guess I should say head east. All right, what else today? Live Oak Vodka is the official vodka of Thunderdome. Love these people hard. Need to get down there. I've said it 3 times this week. I'm trying to speak it into existence. LG and I are talking about doing maybe in the next couple of weekends. I don't want to wait too long because you and I both have vacations coming up and stuff. We need to get down to Beeville and check out the Live Oak Vodka Distillery. They got a 91 score in the Ultimate Spirits Challenge last year in 2022. The official vodka of Thunderdome. Coastal Bend Distilling Company is where it's at, and they make Live Oak inside there down in Bayville near Corpus Christi. I've been looking for an excuse to go to Corpus anyway. This may be it. It is the official vodka of the Taylor Show. Taylor Live Oak Vodka. Happy birthday to Roger Clemens, the Hall of Fame pitcher. Speaking of Longhorns, the Hall of Fame, I said Hall of Fame pitcher. He is a Hall of Fame pitcher, whether he's in it or not, obviously. Roger Clemens, no matter how much he juiced, is one of the 10 greatest people to have ever done what he did. He pitched in an era where, dare I say, 75% of the guys that played, some of which are in the Hall of Fame, they just didn't get caught, were on the juice. Roger Clemens, not being in the Hall of Fame, makes the Hall of Fame a sham. Many of you will disagree with that, and y'all are all wrong. One of my early memories as a little kid was the 1986 World Series in which Clemens and Bob Stanley, Calvin Schiraldi, former Longhorn great, they were on that 86 Red Sox team that lost to the Mets in that dramatic scene in Game 6 that wound up leading to the Game 7 series, and the Mets won after being down 3-2. The Hall of Fame writers that don't vote for Roger Clemens are a bunch of out-of-touch, old-school misanthropes, and to hell with them all. All right, weekend doings. What are you doing this weekend, LG?
I don't have any plans, man.
Big bag of nothing?
I just know my camera's super out of
look
focus.
at you. Would you wipe a booger on the screen?
There we go,
Okay.
yeah. That's what I get for trusting autofocus.
Why don't you come drink a beer at the Ringer with us tomorrow for a little bit?
I'm going to be there. I'm supposed to run your microphone system.
Okay, is that official?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, well, good. Well, I guess that's what you're doing this weekend.
That is what I'm doing, yes.
I'll probably get there around 2:30. And we're going to kick the raffle off at 4. And as soon as we get the raffle going, we're going to get it. We're going to give all that stuff away. We're going to hit it and get it.
Am I eligible or am I?
Fuck no, you're not eligible.
Oh,
you're
God
eligible to
damn it.
help me run the MC part.
Damn it! I want that D-Rob jersey. That's
No,
nice.
you can't have it.
I'm not a member though, so yeah, I can't. I guess I can't have it. I got to become a member of.
Are you not a member of our own show? Oh, God.
No, I'm not a member.
Durham Bulls, man. Are you serious?
No,
You're not a member?
I'm a member. I'm a member on Buy Me a
Do
Coffee.
I get a free membership to my own show?
I can send you one.
Okay,
I'll hook
cool.
you up. Yeah.
I've got administration access, so that's good enough.
Yeah. You can kick members off.
All right,
Yeah,
so
there you
y'all
go.
come out to the Ringer tomorrow. We'll be out there. I'm going to get there around 2 o'clock, but at 4, I'm going to hang out. We're going to shoot the shit. But at 4 o'clock, we're going to get that raffle going. And I got to get that raffle done because I'm going to be dressed up well tomorrow. Not in like full-blown prom suit. Oh, that'd be a funny bit. I got to go to the Tobin Center tomorrow night. I'm going to the remember we mentioned this yesterday with the guy we had on, the filmmaker Nick Mary, who has put together a documentary that I want to go see on the big screen at the Tobin Center. The San Antonio Film Festival is going on this week, and they're going to do a tribute to local filmmakers Saturday at Tobin Center. And tomorrow night they're going to run The Last Issue is the name of the documentary that Nick made about the last days of the longtime Spanish newspaper in town, La Prensa, which was ran and operated by the Duran family. And as y'all all know, I am very partial to the Durans. And we're going to go see the last issue tomorrow. Nina and I have already seen it. and it's beautiful. But I can't wait to go see it at that awesome, badass building, Tobin Center. The story of La Prensa. So can't wait to see that. So I'm going to be a little dressed up tomorrow. I might do it's a film festival, right? So I can do the hipster look, like a badass T-shirt with a sport coat over the top. Maybe some cool sneakers, right? Dress up like Steven Spielberg, not black jeans, T-shirt, the generic sport coat, cool sneakers. I'm not going to wear a baseball cap. That's how a lot of movie directors dress. I can wear that to the Tobin Center, right? Or should I go a little more formal?
I think you can go casual.
I think that's what I'm going to roll with. But anyway, y'all come out to the Ringer tomorrow, hang out. I invite everybody that wants to come out there and drink a beer. And again, it's all, whether you like me or not, man, the money for the raffle's all going to go to the Guardian community. And can't wait to get up there and see how the thing goes. We have a lot of badass things to give away. And before we get away, let me one more time thank, we're at show 113 today. We're ending another work week. And it's been a long week, but it's been a week where we made some tough decisions. I made tough decisions that I think are in the best interest of the long-term future of the show. And on we go. You live and die with the decisions you make, and we made one, and here we go. We're going to do some living. And thank God we've got some people that support our show, like Hank the Realtor, from Vortex Realty, serving San Antonio and Bernie in the Hill Country, up in New Braunfels, and even down south in Floresville and Castroville and all the other villes. It is Hank the Realtor. There's a shortage of homes in San Antonio and in the surrounding area. If you're thinking about selling a home and taking advantage of the money you might be able to get, let Hank Perez run the comps on your place. Find out what your property's worth with. It's Hank the Realtor. Maybe you got a buddy that's thinking about selling. Well, before you go sell, at least see what your property's worth in this goofy market. Hank will tell you, no obligations. He's Poodle Thunderdome. It's Hank the Realtor. Hit him up, 300-1121. Text him your information, 300-1121. What you need yourself a realtor? Call Hank. We're done. Love y'all hard. See you Monday. That's it. We're done. Yeah.
Come back, you puppy!
This program was made possible by contributions from viewers and listeners like you. Thank you.
This is a crossbound